Hello, everybody. We will be starting in just a few minutes. We'll give everybody some time to join, and then we'll kick it off. Welcome, everybody. Just going to give it another few minutes for those of us just joining, and then we will go ahead and get started. Awesome. It's great to see you from Portland. Awesome. I'm based out of the New York office at Gorgias, so good to see that we have some people across the states. But welcome, everybody. It's really great to have you here. My name is Emily. I'm a product marketing manager here at Gorgias, and I will be hosting today's session, Behind the Hype with DTCx, What E-commerce Brands Think About AI. So while people continue to trickle in, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat with your name and where you're joining us from. We would love if you would all say hi and welcome. So again, my name is Emily, product marketing manager at Gorgias. My role is all about bringing impactful new products to market and making sure we incorporate customer feedback from e-commerce brands along the way. I'm particularly focused on our shopping assistant product, which is part of AI Agent here at Gorgias. And the ultimate goal is just to bring more value to brands that we serve. So I'm really excited to kick off this discussion with you all, where we'll take a behind the scenes look at how teams are actually using AI to level up their customer experience, boost revenue, and then stay ahead of the curve by doing that. And we have a great lineup for today, and they'll be sharing real stories, actionable strategies, and honest takes on what it looks like to adopt AI in today's e-commerce world. And this session will be recorded, so we'll distribute it after the event today. Awesome. So what to expect for today? This webinar is part of our DTCx series here at Gorgias. And if it's the first one that you're joining, this is where we bring together merchants and partners and agencies to share what's working right now in e-commerce. And we'll keep these conversations realistic and actionable. So just make sure that you keep asking questions in the chat, leave comments, and then engage with our speakers. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers today. So we have Katherine, Director of Retention Marketing and CX, joining us from Cornbread. And we have Teala, Manager of Marketing, joining us from Stamped. So I would love to bring both of them to the stage to give more of an introduction. If you guys would like to join me here, and we can give everybody an introduction.
Hi guys, super excited to be here. As Emily mentioned, I'm Katherine. I'm the Director of Retention Marketing and Customer Experience over at Cornbread Hemp. Oversee kind of all things retention on site, as well as our CX and kind of our Gorgias setup. So super excited to chat about AI.
And I'm Teala. I'm our manager of marketing at Stamped. Stamped is a reviews, loyalty, and lifecycle marketing software for e-commerce merchants. I've been at Stamped for about 3.5 years. So we've been going through a ton of changes in how we adopt the product and how we change our technology to suit AI and all of the changes that are coming out. So excited to chat with you today, Katherine and Emily, about what those are and how we can learn from you and what we can change and shift in the future.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for those intros. It's really great to have both of you with us today. I'm going to stop the screen share and we can get into the discussion. So I think the first thing it'd be really interesting to talk about is before AI. So obviously we live in a pre and post AI world right now. So I would love to dig into your thought process before you started incorporating AI and kind of what led you to using AI in e-commerce. So yeah, my first question is just what pushed your team to actually adopt AI?
Yeah, I can kick us off. For us, we're really hands-on with our customers and our customer service. If you call, if you chat, if you email, there's a person on the other end. And we started growing and growing and growing to the point that we kind of just couldn't manage it all ourselves. So we leaned heavily on the Gorgias team. Like, what could we do to optimize this and make this easier for, our human team members? And from that, it came, let's check out AI. And it's made quite a difference for us. We immediately saw kind of the impact on those lower level tickets where customers can get, a couple of questions answered a little bit easier before it has to escalate to chatting with one of our folks in office. So it really was a bandwidth issue that we've been able to solve.
Awesome. Yeah, we hear a lot from from customers that we work with, that reducing that repetitive workload really helps unlock their human agents to focus on more strategic work. So yeah, definitely a great use case. Teala, I think you were about to chime in too.
Yeah, I think it's that more strategic time, right? So at Stamp, we have this huge purchase data. We understand reviews data, loyalty data, life cycle data, all of those types of pieces. So we've been thinking about how do we help merchants create better sequences when it comes to like subscription follow-up flows, about to lapse follow-up flows. How do you send the review request at exactly the right time so that the timing is taken care of for the merchant and you can think more of the strategy of the messaging and the personalization. I think that's where we've been really focused. And then on our side as a team, we've all been thinking about how do we use it to become more efficient and kind of replace a lot of those like analytics pieces that can take up a ton of time where you're pulling different reports and combining it all together. We're trying to create processes internally of how do we do that cross functionally? And then how do we maybe replicate that in the product? What can we change in dashboards to make it easier to find different information?
Yeah, awesome. I think so. I'm hearing a lot of, focusing from those more, repetitive tasks to becoming more strategic and enabling e-commerce brands to be able to do that. And then also internally becoming more productive too. I think that's definitely a common theme with the Gorgias team as well, really using AI in our daily workflows and really helping us get a lot more done. So yeah, that's really exciting to hear about that. The next question is just, what was your team's biggest misconception about AI before you actually started adopting it?
I think for us, the biggest fear was it was going to take over, which, like, don't get me wrong, I think that definitely is everybody's fear. And it was kind of like either going to take the workload too much or answer things incorrectly for our customers. So being in the CBD and THC space, it's, very meticulous on what kind of advice we give to customers, kind of what kind of recommendations, education, all of that. And we want to make sure that what we are recommending or what we are saying is definitely aligned with like who we are as a brand, as well as with just like legal guidelines. So it was a little bit scary for all of us to take the jump. And then also just like not having any control, but thankfully we have a lot of that, which is great.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, it's definitely important to have guardrails with AI to make sure that it's representing you well and, really refining things to make sure it adapts to your tone and your strategy and all of that. So definitely hear that. Teala, I would love to hear from you too.
Yeah, I think there are two key concerns that we heard from merchants when we started chatting about this and we're scoping and working on features. The first is the brand side of things, which is what you highlighted, Catherine, that when you're starting to use too much AI, everyone recognizes that M dash, right? And they think, oh, you created this in ChatGPT. How do you use it to like scale ads and to scale copy without replacing copy and not lose that personalized human element, which is why customers buy from you a lot of the time, right? They feel that connection. So we've been thinking about that on like PDPs. How can we encourage that in like reviews or repurposing UGC content, for example, across that? Or in your loyalty program, how do you design very human little nudges and touches that really feel like it's Teala, the manager of marketing, reaching out to you and not ChatGPT Teala reaching out to you? So we're trying to toe that line a little bit. And then I think the other thing is understanding the complexity of a clean data set. We had kind of thought that ChatGPT or AI would come in and tidy up data sets at the start of working on things like review moderation, for example, with AI. And what we really found was that if your customer data is messy, the results are messy too. So we've been working on helping people clean up their data, tidy it up, format it appropriately, and using AI to do that work at scale, but not to just like plug in one giant Google sheet and expect it to understand the strategy and the theory.
That's really interesting. So yeah, really just helping them get a lot of clarity with their data and then activate it and use it appropriately. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I completely agree with you too on the human aspect, because as much as AI helps you be more productive, it's still important that every single customer feels like they have that personal experience. So yeah, definitely important to still feel like they have that human touch. So after incorporating AI and bringing it into your day-to-day workflow, I would love to learn more about what that looks like for you now. So with the incorporation of AI in the customer journey, where do you think it's been most successful? Yeah, I would love to hear more about that.
For us, it's definitely been the most successful at the beginning of our customer journey, especially with, well, I guess we can split this out in like new customers versus our returning. So, new customers, beginning of their customer journey, what product's right for me? What should I buy? Why should I buy this? So, kind of that like brand and product discovery as they're diving into like who we are at Cornbread and what we have to offer. Do I want these sleep gummies? Do I want these THC gummies? And why do I want them? So, a lot of like intro into who we are, what these products are, and why us versus other brands, which is really great. As far as returning customers, it definitely has helped with the easeability with just those like ever cumbersome D2C things like returns or order damage or, like I have too much, need to pause my subscription. Those meticulous tasks, it really helps us reach the customers and help them get those tasks done quicker. So they get that immediate source of relief of whatever issue that they're having. So it definitely has been really helpful in easing the minds on both sides of customer segments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly how we look at it here too. I feel like I hear that a lot from our customers that I talk to. Product discovery is such a huge piece for them because, you want, if you have a first-time customer going onto your website for the first time, you want them to be able to find what they're looking for and make sure that they know that you have what they're looking for too. And so helping them through that process of the introduction to the brand and looking through all of the different offerings and finding what's right for them is really important. So yeah, I think that's a really impactful part. Teala, I would love to hear from you here on this piece as well.
Yeah, I'm actually curious, Catherine, how are you managing that on the practical level? So, are you identifying people who come to your site and then showing them custom pop-ups or building custom retargeting ads? How are you using AI for that specifically?
Honestly, I will say we just launched Shopping Assistant with Gorgias, and it has been like a really exciting tool. So we're still kind of, working out the kinks, but so far we really haven't had any. When customers are on different product pages or category pages, a couple of preliminary questions come up that maybe are in the back of the customer's mind, but they haven't thought to ask it yet. And it prompts them to start this experience with our Gorgias chat, which starts out as the AI to kind of dive into what they're thinking or where they're going to give them more confidence in what selection that they're making. So the shopping assistant has been super exciting for us to implement and make just that easeability of product discovery implemented.
Amazing. That's so cool. On
Mhm.
the stamp side, I would say we've been mainly focused on the retention. So, how can you use AI to make your post purchase flows, your post purchase nudges more effective? But there's one really cool use case that we've been seeing pop up more, and that is reviews in GPT searches or reviews in Claude shopping searches. So, when people are actually in AI models and they're searching best THC supplement, oftentimes you'll actually see a review show up there, and you can even ask for reviews too. So for us, we've been thinking about how do we help merchants collect reviews in a more meaningful way. So it's increasing the volume of them. Obviously, we know more reviews leads to more sales. Stamp did a study about a year ago that showed it was kind of like a 2x sales, depending on how many reviews that you led or that you collected. But the other one is quality of reviews. So maybe I'm Teala and I'm searching for that sleep gummy. I'm Teala, I'm looking for a THC gummy that helps me sleep at night. Then it would necessarily or would hopefully highlight reviews that talked about sleeping in the chat GPT or in the models too, which is the ideal end case, I think, in what we've been experimenting with. And then on the post purchase side, Some of the pieces that we've been most interested in finding the most results in are how do we take a action or a moment is what we call it at Stamped in the customer lifecycle journey, and then automate the responses to that. So a good example is a company that we work with called Osea. I don't know if you guys have tried their products. They have amazing skincare products. They give out samples in all of their orders that you make online. And they've actually started tracking those samples as SKUs, and then they'll send an automated follow-up email about 2 weeks after the sample, prompting you to purchase the full size and including a link to a discount code for that. So knowing exactly what the sample is, being able to map it and then automate the timing and personalize the email, it's all using some of that like stamped AI personalization data to create that flow and that process. But it's resulted in a way of taking kind of that sample generic strategy where you just throw something in the bag and then automating it and scaling it out.
That's actually really interesting. Just turning, a free sample product that might actually be a cost traditionally, and then turning that into new revenue later down the line with personalization. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had previously been treated more as like a branding component, right? You give samples, people want to try more products. It's like a gift from the brand. This is a way of automating that into a retention play or a revenue play.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then, so I want to move on to another question. So when implementing AI, what was one mistake that you made at the very early days of actually adding AI into your workflow? And what would you do differently now if you could go back to the beginning of the whole process?
That's a good question. I think our biggest mistake is not like giving AI feedback. It doesn't know until it knows, so you have to kind of train it. And I personally like really didn't lean into that as much. But the way to make things better and make sure it's working the right way, or letting good job, bad job, and letting it kind of direct it if it's bad, like where are the right resources, and training it just like you would train a new hire. That way, it doesn't make that new mistake over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I hear that very commonly. I think we like to look at the AI agent as kind of a human member of your team. And just as any new employee would need training and ongoing support, AI also needs that too. And yeah, it's definitely something to continually optimize, especially as your brand grows and changes with new policies, or different promotions that might be going on, or new products that are added. Yeah, treating that AI as if it is another human member of your team, to make sure that it's always up to date and can speak accurately to the customers.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely on the customer facing side made it feel more human. We gave her a name. It's Allie. Like Allie got a lot of really great reviews. But on the internal side, we kind of were like, all right, Allie's running, and letting it know. I think if you're going to align that it's a human kind of AI agent to your customers, you got to spend that time internally too.
Yeah, give them the personal touch. I love that you named your AI agent that as well. Yeah, I love hearing all of the different names for the AI that people have. But Teala, I would love to hear, what have you seen with your customers as they're implementing AI for the first time? Anything that they encounter with mistakes and things they might change?
It's the context piece that Katherine highlighted the most. It's like this is a body of knowledge that doesn't necessarily know as much about your company as you do. So you're responsible for prompting it. So a couple easy solutions are turn on the shared memory setting to make sure that it's remembering your past conversations and that you can refer back to it. And then this is a mistake that we made internally at Stamped. We ran an internal AI challenge, and we had everyone across every department come up with a use of AI to automate and make their work a little bit more efficient. And then everyone shared about that in our general Slack channel. So there's kind of like two mistakes there. One, it was in our general Slack channel, and that should have been in a dedicated channel so we could all go back and refer to it and find the information a little bit easier. And then the second one is they weren't all created in a shared corporate account. So some of these custom agents are actually operating on their own accounts. And I would love to fold them in so that everyone at the company has access to the same level of data. I think if you're new to AI and you're just getting started, think about those foundational processes. Is how do I set it up so that the systems make sense for everyone on my team and possibly everyone at my org? And then secondary, how do I set up an internal communication system where we can focus more on this and have it less be kind of like interrupting the big broad updates? Personalized Slack channels, perfect for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so true too. I think if some automated workflow or a new AI agent or something on the team is helping one person, it's probably going to help a lot of other people too. So sharing the knowledge and helping everybody with everything is definitely useful. Awesome. So I know a lot of brands, when they're considering AI, they do want to use it, but they don't always know where to start. So what's one thing that you think a brand can do to see really fast impact, those quick wins, something that helps build confidence for a bigger rollout as they expand too?
I have a
Teala,
very
I'll let
easy
you
use
kick this
case
one
for
off.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've been working with an apparel brand and a experiment that they've been running for about a year now, and we're actually turning this into a new feature for Stamped. So they are an apparel brand that creates mainly like intimates for women, and they create different versions of their bras that they're creating. So what they will often do is after a launch, they scrape all of the reviews of feedback on that specific launch, and then they plug that into an AI, and they've created a custom agent at this point to look for themes in the product construction and the product quality, and then what other people might want from that. Then they have their customer personas created. So they have their like sizes, they have their types of shoppers built in there too. And they'll create a report from that about what could we create in the next iteration. Then they'll feed that into their product team, and the product team uses that. So maybe they know the underwire was too firm in this model, or people actually didn't like the straps on this model, and they'll use that to create the new version. Then when they do that launch or that release, they give the same reviews from that report to the content team, and the content team creates kind of a campaign of, we listen to you, here's the 2.0 addressing your specific feedback for that product. So they're really embedding it across the listening to the customer and using it to amplify that process. And then they're using that to actually enhance and create new products, and then kind of close that loop with the customer listening social campaign. I think it's a beautiful use case for data that they're already collecting that oftentimes can just sit stale on a product page. They're actually activating that across a couple of different components of their business. So what we're doing at Stamped is we're building something that we're calling semantic search that will allow you to do all of that within the dashboard. So you don't need to export everything and then import it into your preferred LLM or your preferred AI. You'll be able to do all of that in Stamped.
That's amazing. So really taking the concept of continuous refinement and then using that to communicate back to your shoppers at the end of the day, like, hey, we listened to you and we hope you like this new version even better. Yeah, I love that.
Exactly. Kind of taking away the idea that maybe AI is perceived as something that helps you be more efficient, and actually can help you to scale your customer listening in a better way. Katherine, you know this better than anyone. Like, you're a lean team, I'm sure, and you're trying to do a ton of extra things. So if there's some way to incorporate more customer feedback into your processes and make that simpler, then it creates that loyalty feeling. It helps with that community building without necessarily going out and like building a Discord community, right? It's the how do you actually operate on those principles in the day to day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that really for us, like when we turned on AI, and I think the biggest thing is really just making sure that you have your baseline of like guidance and kind of references on your site, and you put your tone of voice in there. But once we turned on our AI agent, it actually allowed us to gather a lot of incremental feedback from our customers, like you're saying, and going into maybe like a lower CSAT rating or even a higher CSAT rating to be understanding of what is working with these customers when we're automating these kind of tickets or experiences and what's not working, and taking that kind of feedback and implementing it to make it working more and more and more.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that I hear from customers at Gorgias is, really testing internally before you go live to make sure that, all of these tweaks and adjustments that you're making with the AI are actually being represented the right way. To really build confidence and like using an actual internal sandbox to see all of these changes and how they actually look, to really fine tune those responses before you just roll it out to all of your shoppers, to make sure that it's something that is relevant and is serving the use case that you want it to be serving too. I think that's something that I've heard from some of the brands I've spoken to as being important as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Testing is key. I'm a big fan of going incognito and just like ripping it apart on the site. But the Gorgias testing feature is really exciting because you can really make it a dynamic experience and ask a lot of different questions to see what answers coming from where and optimize it before it even hits your customer.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And obviously, as you're adding AI and you're starting to use AI in your workflows and on your site, it's important to measure the success too. So I know you mentioned CSAT, Katherine. I would love to learn more and dig a little deeper into how you're actually measuring the ROI of your AI and whether it's effective for you. What are the key indicators that you're really paying attention to?
Yeah, for us, definitely like number of tickets closed. We see it double the amount a day at least that our agents do, which is really exciting and taking on that load. But also our C stat to make sure that the tickets it's closing is actually going to be receptive to the customer and those responses. We also just look at like overall like attributed revenue like from Gorgias like for our site. So managing like what the impact of our customer success agents or our AI is actually making. But yeah, the biggest one is definitely going to be number of tickets, AIC stat, revenue attribution, and then the resolution time. Because first response time is like always so quick, which is super, super amazing. And we know if that changes that something's broken, right? But our resolution time is like, what are these responses and the responses from our customer? Is that bringing that down? And it normally is, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Teala, is there anything with the AI that you see your customers really measuring to understand the impact that you guys are bringing as well?
I think Catherine hit the nail on the head with the kind of like quantifiable metrics of what we're looking for. So it's CSAT, revenue, kind of response rate, those types of pieces. Also looking at from like the stamp side of things, what are reviews looking like? How many people are in the loyalty program? What's the impact of that on LTV? And then the other layer that I would add, or the other wrinkle to look for here, is what is the feedback that you're hearing? We have been looking on Twitter, we're looking at all of our different social channels on LinkedIn. When people really notice that you're using AI in your customer community, how are they responding to that? So is that a, hey, I've noticed that you've been faster at replies and people are getting to me quicker? That sometimes shows up in like private Facebook groups, or someone might even share about that on TikTok or on Twitter after a purchase. Sometimes that even shows up in the product reviews. So it's being able to both quantify and qualify the impact, I think, is the most powerful thing when you can combine the two together.
Yeah, I think it's amazing to keep an eye on the actual response that you're seeing from the end user or like the shopper, but then also tracking those metrics and understanding what the uplift is too. So definitely a combined methodology for sure. Awesome. And then my other question that I wanted to ask here is just, is there a disconnect between what AI promises to improve versus what it has actually been moving the needle on for you? Have you noticed any of this?
I definitely think AI is meticulous and it definitely needs some hand holding at first, at least to get it to where you want it to be. If you are like a very particular brand, we are. There's not any like broken promises or anything like that, but I do think that we have seen like the roadmap with the improvements and with our feedback have definitely been taken into consideration as a brand and a user, and seeing those improvements over and over and over again. So I just feel like there's only up from here, which is super, super exciting. And there's only learning from here.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely try to incorporate a lot of the feedback that we get from our customers that we're hearing. So we always want to be improving and continuously making things better. So I think one of the areas that I'm personally really excited about with our improvements is the AI feedback, because as you know, like, and have you've been saying this already, but giving feedback and being able to continuously refine the AI is super important. And so it's definitely something that we have planned on our roadmap coming up, but being able to give really, really granular feedback that takes action in real time to the AI is something that we are really excited about at Gorgias. So yeah, Teala, I don't know if there's anything that you would want to share related to this on maybe there's a disconnect or something that you guys are really excited about coming up at Stamped.
Yeah, I think potentially one of the disconnects that we see, and we've been exploring a little bit and researching into the data, is this concept of using AI to replace your support team or using AI to replace your customer experience function. It really should be used as a tool to amplify as opposed to replace. You still want those people that are asking it questions, giving feedback, structuring the models, managing how the strategy of responses goes and maybe how you're doing Q&A. We've been doing a little bit of digging into this idea of like letting go of the support team and replacing it with the AI model, which I know can be tempting in terms of headcount and cost and the ease of use, but then the long-term impact of that on the brand reputation and the quality of responses. And what we've really been noodling is how can you take those people who maybe before were spending 8 hours a day responding to tickets, and now the agent is really supporting them and giving them time to just be driving forward the responses instead of actually writing them. How can you take their expertise on your brand and maybe apply it to other areas in the life cycle? So maybe those are the people that could be supporting with loyalty, flow building, or PDP auditing, or even looking at that like content creation campaign and what reviews or what questions that are coming in from people could be the most valuable. I think it's taking that expertise, scaling it out, and not necessarily replacing it can have the biggest impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really making the most of the team that you have and shifting them all into more strategic roles where you're taking that really incredible granular detail that they get on a day-to-day basis from the shoppers and then using that in every other part of your business too, and giving them the time to be able to do that and contribute. Awesome. Well, I know, Teala, you had some questions that you wanted to ask about customer loyalty and a little topic that you wanted to bring up there. So yeah, I would love to shift gears and move into loyalty.
Awesome. Okay. Obviously, we've been talking about brand reputation, customer experience, kind of driving towards that second purchase. But Katherine, I'm super curious, in your mind, what role does AI play in how you reward and recognize loyal customers? So how are you using it to identify your best shoppers? How are you using it to kind of like amplify that loyalty or the community component?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such like a big weighted question because there are so many things that we're not doing that we are working towards doing. But there are a lot of things that we can do now. And I think that the best thing about loyalty and like really predicting your next customer's move is just that. Like we're predicting, we're rewarding them for being loyal. We know like, hey, they're about to drop off and maybe not be a champion customer, or hey, they're one purchase away from leveling up into a champion customer. So how do we take like those properties and that knowledge that we have about the customer and use AI to predict them and give them the most dynamic and personalized experience? Because I really feel like that's where loyalty and email retention, all of it is heading towards, is like we have all of this data. How do we use this data to tell the customer, like, hey, we know that this is what you're thinking of next and we're here to support you. We also know that you probably aren't going to purchase without a promo code. So here's a promotion. Or we also know that you're one referral away from leveling up into the next loyalty tier. And we know that you love gifts. So here's kind of an incentive to do so. So it's really meeting the customer with where they are, but maybe a little bit before they know that they're there. And starting to nudge them into it. That's my take, at least. I'm sure there's so much more.
Like some predictive modeling, predictive
Mhm.
automation based on the customer segments. How are you working with people who are doing like LLM shopping right now? So how are you like tracking what leads might come in from that or what purchases are coming in from that? Or maybe adjusting your content marketing strategy or your landing page strategy for those specific types of searches where someone is starting their search for THC gummies in ChatGPT or in Claude.
Yeah, we definitely do a lot on like the SEO and paid side of things to make sure that like what we're putting out there is matching the needs of what customers are searching. We've really teed in some really great landing pages. Our paid team has done a great job there with like leading the customers through to give them the right kind of education that they need as their intro to our brand before they're taken to another page like a collection or a PDP that even gives you more information. So it's kind of like that funnel, right? You start so small and then you get a little wider and then you get a little wider. So bits and pieces at the time where we think the customer needs each bit of information to convert them over. We lean heavily into brand and into making our own products and being USD organic and, not being, affected by all the tariffs or things like that and being family owned. So I think that we have a lot of information that we can use to educate the customer, whether they care about where their product's coming from or what's going into their product. And we're able to pick and choose like what we're showing at what point in the buying cycle to the customers to appeal to them.
Amazing. So you're using your PDPs and your pre-sale landing pages to kind of create
Mhm.
that education and awareness journey that people could then search for in whatever their search AI
Yep,
is.
exactly.
Cool. And then how do reviews fold into that for you? I'm curious. I know we talked a little bit about like searchability of reviews via these types of models. How do you think about that at Cornbread Hemp?
Yeah, I think that we definitely have some evolution here. As for right now, we're getting reviews post-purchase after the customer has spent a couple of, like 2 weeks or so with the product and really getting to know it. And we take those reviews to heart. We respond to every single review, every single question. We're very grateful that most of our reviews are 4 and 5 star. But when they're lesser, we're taking those immediately internally to product team, and we're letting folks know these are the issues that are happening, and this is what's going on. But we use our reviews to champion kind of every part of our customer journey. So whether we're using those reviews to make things better internally, or we're showcasing those reviews to the customer on site, in email, wherever they may be, in an ad, we love what our customers have to say about us, and we lean heavily into that.
Amazing. There's kind of two things I could say for that. One, there's actually a ton of studies done that if you have a couple negative reviews on a product page, people perceive it as more organic. So they can be
Right.
a good thing. One or two, 3-star reviews on a page, chef's kiss. You want those there so that people know that you're not over moderating reviews. That's an awesome thing. And then the other piece is Stamped is working on kind of two functionalities that I think you'd be interested to experiment with. And we're hoping that we'll really support merchants with these challenges. The one is asking for the review at exactly the right time for exactly the right person. So we've been training some AI models on how do we know when someone is most likely to have used a different product and seen the results of it. Katherine, you said it's about 2 weeks for your customer set,
Yeah.
but for a sleep gummy that someone receives, it might actually be that they tried it that night and they used it and they had the best sleep ever, and it was their first time having a good sleep in
Yeah.
years. So maybe the next day is actually the best time to ask the review. Or something like a performance enhancing gummy, someone might want to be taking it for a period of time to see that reduction in anxiety, and then they're able to talk about it. So we're really interested in looking at different customer segments or different customer personas, and then looking at your different SKUs and what you want the outcome to be, and then to design that perfect moment based on that like intersection of those two pieces. I think that'll be really interesting once we finalize that tech and we're able to experiment with it. My hope
Yeah.
is that we'll get a lot more reviews and a lot better quality reviews for you.
Yeah, I love that, actually, especially being in different verticals for different use cases for different products. There's just like so much evolution. So if AI could predict that and we don't manually have to go, this person did this and did this, then send this. I mean, like, imagine the possibilities.
Yeah, it'd be ideal. And then we can take that same context to loyalty too, right? When someone joins a loyalty program, and the average person is like 16 loyalty programs as the stat. I probably remember 3 that I'm in that I actually use. And that's because they do a great job messaging me and they're using segmentation and personalization. So our concept is, how do we take that idea of knowing that Teala likes to receive emails, Katherine likes to receive text messages, Teala makes a purchase once a quarter, Katherine does monthly. And then how do we design different product and times based on that to automate all of those kind of personalized flows that you're probably sending out manually right now? Have one flow that knows the customer persona, that knows the purchase history, and that can tie in what loyalty rewards or what discounts might move them to the next purchase best.
Yeah, that sounds sick. I love it.
I'll let you know when we're ready for beta testers, Katherine. Cool, cool. All right. Next question for you is, how are you using AI to reduce churn or win back at-risk customers?
Yeah, I think really it's like dynamically recognizing, this customer. It's all based on, I think, what I said earlier of like, this customer does this and does this at this time. And using AI is the key point to delivering the message at the right time to prevent them from churning, to predict that they're going to come back and make a purchase. So for us, it's really like predicting like, okay, this customer is not following its typical customer behavior. Why is that happening? So whether we're reaching out with a promotion or whether we're just touching base, like reminding them who we are as a brand, it's really all about that prediction based on the customer's purchasing behavior. If they are, going over and they haven't made their purchase and they're typical, like, 4 to 8 weeks or so. Like, why not? Is it the summertime? Are they on vacation? Is it because it's so hot and things are getting melty? So trying to just understand like what triggers are going in there, and meeting them with their needs. So whether that is like a stock up promotion after that time frame, or giving them a different product. Maybe they're done with sleep, they feel like they get good sleep. Well, how else can we get them into something else, like a THC gummy or something? So it's all about predicting when they're going to do it and trying to prevent them from doing it.
Love it. Same concept that we talked about with the idea of the reviews and the pre-purchase. It's also with that end of cycle.
Yep, agree,
Cool.
big time.
Emily, how is Gorgias tackling this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, using AI on the website, and using that as a way to follow the customer throughout their entire journey, whether it's, the first time on the website, or whether they are a returning customer, they have multiple items in their cart, and using that context to give them a completely different experience, using conversational AI to have a personal shopper basically right next to them throughout their entire customer journey, whether they've already purchased something and they have a question, or they're brand new on the site browsing through products, don't know what to choose, and having something that can adjust and adapt with them as things are changing, as they're having behaviors that happen on the site, whether they're clicking on a specific product or navigating to a different category on the site. And yeah, just having something that can be agile and adaptable with them and grow with them as they are, walking through this journey and going towards purchase. I think that's how we're really looking at it here.
Amazing.
Awesome. Well, I think we can shift gears and talk a little bit more about the human and AI balance. I know this is something that we kind of talked about a little bit at the beginning, but I would love to dig a little deeper here. So, as you've brought on AI, how has it changed the roles and responsibilities of your CX team? I know we talked about, removing those more tactical, simple responses and a shift towards more strategy. But I would love to hear a little bit more about that and dig a little deeper there. So, Katherine, if you could walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. As we brought on AI, I think there was honestly an immediate scare with everybody that AI is here and it's going to take all these jobs away. But for us, it's always been a supplemental piece of technology. So something that we implemented to help these customers, mainly in those just like mundane beginning stages, or, like returning customers, those returns, all that kind of stuff, just those like mundane tasks that took barely amount of time, but enough of it added up with our human agents that, it took like a whole person's week. So implementing AI, what that has done for our current customer experience agents is it's given them more time to spend with our other customers who maybe need to have a 15-minute phone call to really talk about all of the products that we have a customer story that they want to share with us, really help them in navigating this world of technology that maybe not everybody has adapted to, and making sure they're still getting their purchases. So it really allows our agents to spend that quality time with our customers that need it a little bit more. Even with AI and chat, like we have like some handoff rules set up. So it's handling these initial parts of the conversation, but the customer maybe needs a little bit more help. And then it's giving them to a person who already has all of that information and can give them a teed up response that maybe answers their questions, and they're live right there on the other side a little bit quicker to help them drive the purchase. So overall, it's really just taking away those smaller tasks that everybody was doing and giving them more time back to focus on our customers who really need it, as well as focusing on their career growth and where they want to learn and grow. Because, so much stuff is coming into play, and we want to champion our employees to grow where they want to in the CX world or beyond. So how can we give them a little bit more time back instead of always being in the queue to level them up in different kind of areas of expertise? So it's like a double whammy for us.
Yeah, so kind of helping with retention, both internally with your team and then externally with your customers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think it's really great also to give the people who have those faster responses or the faster questions a faster response by getting the information they need immediately. And then also being able to give the people who need that more in-depth help and a little more hand-holding, giving them that attention that they need in order to be confident making a decision and moving towards purchase. So yeah, handling it on all ends of the spectrum here, which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. And
That
then,
I talked with recently told me that they're using that extra time that they have from automating some of those CX processes to call customers when they have a problem. So now they have like a tiered system and they're actually hopping on the phone and calling people, which to me felt like a little vintage. We've kind of like scaled beyond the idea of the personalized phone call, but that's what they're replacing it with and using that extra time for one-to-one touches. So it's that, and then also maybe using that time for proactive outreach. Catherine, you talk so much about building in those predictive forecasts of what is the moment when someone's likely to bump into a problem. Once you have that model in place, it's like spending a little bit of time experimenting with creating nuanced messaging, creating nuanced
Yeah.
outreach strategies to deal with that. And then also like surprise and delight moments. If you have the creative space of an hour in your day to think of an amazing campaign that you could run for certain customers that's a little bit more personalized and high touch, imagine the impact of that over the course of a year.
Yeah, the quality of calls, I think you really nailed it with like it is a little bit more vintage. It is like a key point, like or a key purpose of our customer experience. And we have a lot of incoming calls, but I think being able to actually take time out of your day and know that you have a champion of your brand to like go and talk to somebody is like so different for sure.
mhm.
Hmm.
And I
Different and
think
really powerful.
there's
Hmm.
definitely value in going back to the basics too. And I think sometimes those more, traditional methods of having that phone call, that could be your surprise and delight moment too, because I feel like there's a lot of automation now, and a lot of people used to dealing with AI so much that sometimes breaking through all of that with a simple phone call can be really impactful too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then my other question that I wanted to ask here is, do you think it matters to customers that they know that they're talking to AI? I know, Katherine, you said that you named your AI agent on your site, but have you seen a difference in customer satisfaction based on who they're talking to or whether they know it's an AI versus not an AI?
There's not a universal answer. Some people care and some people don't. Some people are really grateful that they just got a fast, correct response. They're like, thank you. We've had a couple people be like, I'm pretty sure Allie is AI, but she was great no matter what. It doesn't matter. Like, it was great. If it was AI, like, this is insane how it's speaking to me because it's not like, doesn't sound like a computer or AI typical voice. And then there are folks who know it's AI and they're like, I just want to speak to a human. And we carry that like to heart. We want to make sure that their experience is the same as it was before AI when they were speaking to a human, but we're also at a stage of growth where like to keep those expectations like in hand with our customers of giving them a quick response, we have to balance both. So that's why we do a lot of AI feedback to make sure that, even if it is AI and the customer maybe isn't like super in love with that, which I totally understand, they're still getting all of the resources that they need.
Yeah, I'm curious, are there any specific moments that come up pretty frequently where you find that, your customers are wanting to just talk to the human people on your team versus with the AI?
Yeah, normally those customers are definitely the call-in customers. So they'll just ring us up, and we don't have like any kind of like AI answering bot. It's like a greeting, and then you go on hold for maybe 20 seconds, and if there's an agent that's able to answer, they are, and if not, you go to voicemail, and we give you a call back. But there are some customers who they just like don't get the right answer, but they're also not maybe providing the right information. So it's like the balance is like not there versus like if it was a person, we could be like, hey, like I think you actually meant this. So it's just one of those things, we can't, there's not too much that we can do about it.
Yeah, just being agile, making sure that
Yeah.
we can give everybody the support that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then with AI, are there any areas of the tech stack where you think AI might not be fully ready to be trustworthy yet? And if so, why or why not?
I definitely don't think I have trust issues with AI, which is good to say. I do think that there's a lot of evolution, mainly more in like control on like where it pops up, when it pops up, things like that. But, being new tools, I think that those are kind of ever evolving. So far, my experience with our gorgeous AI has been super amazing. Like, really, no notes. The team is so great at taking our feedback and hearing our concerns, being like, oh, maybe we haven't thought about that yet. Or, oh, yeah, we've heard about that from merchants and we're actually working on a fix. So I think it's just one of those new pieces that we have to learn and grow from ourselves. And then to do that, take it back and learn and grow the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the point that you brought up about, having that evolution be there for AI. It is something that's rapidly growing, and there's always going to be new things coming out and new ways that we can make it even better. And, having the ability to choose when and where it shows up, I think that's something that Gorgias, we're definitely starting to explore with a lot of the proactive engagement that we're doing with Shopping Assistant, for example. Having, the AI pop up on a search result page, for example. If your customer has a very specific search that they're looking for and they have a lot of different results and they're maybe overwhelmed with the search result page, instead of having them browse through that manually, having the AI send a helpful message a few seconds into their search and say, hey, I heard you're looking for this specific product. I can actually help you.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely something we're exploring and something that we want to expand and grow into.
I definitely think it's more conversational, which is super, super exciting. And I do think, like, also just to add on to that anybody who is maybe a little fearful of AI, totally understandable. It's been such an evolution so far, and I feel like we've only had it a short amount of time. The best thing that made me and my team feel more confident would be the guidance pieces and the amount of control that we did have in setting it up, especially in like a very federally regulated space of hemp and THC. There's so many things that we cannot say and we would get in so much trouble for, which I know there's a lot of other brands that have that kind of stuff too. So giving the AI that direction, that guidance, and being able to reference back to that in tickets if you're learning or you're letting it know good job, bad job, and always kind of like evolving, is like key there.
For sure. Yeah, and I think, having those topics that you can add to the guidance to say, like, hey, we can't talk about this. If this topic comes up, maybe hand it over to a human team member. I think that's really important to be able to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, being able to define maybe what are those like technical issues where you want a human involved, and then also looking for those moments where empathy might be the point that solves the customer experience, right? AI is great for the technical issues, for the resolutions there, but if someone just wants to be heard and to talk with the brand, being able to flag that and then pass it on to the phone call that we were just chatting about, I think that's one of the most important points to build into the workflows.
100%. And also adding on that empathy piece is so key. We have like tuned in our tone of voice with our AI agent so well that like it is so empathetic and so nice. So I think that there is like a big human element that you can even add into those automations, and then being able to trigger specific rules or conditions and tags that if you get to this point of saying these, then flag this ticket, and being able to escalate that. And like you said, giving a phone call back or something. Key in the customer experience for sure.
Very key. Awesome. Well, I have just one more question for both of you, actually, and then we can wrap up. But I would love to learn a little bit more about if you have an AI wish list. What does that look like for 2026? Is there anything you wish it could do by next year? And any goals for AI adoption or automation rate? What does that look like?
I have a very long wish list.
Yeah, go ahead, Teala, kick it off.
I think on the merchant side, I want these moments that we're working on at Stamped to be available for you to play with and to experiment with. The idea of using AI to predict the right moment of churn, the right moment for a review, the right moment for each of those steps in the loyalty program, and then to be able to automate that. That's my like 2026 wish list item. I think it's going to come sooner than that. Personally, I would love an AI that does a really good job of talking to me about the changes in the Shopify ecosystem and all of the different tech companies. If I could ask ChatGPT, what's the latest release of this Shopify feature? And then it could just feed me a report every single month so I don't need to follow 10 different sources. Maybe that's the custom GPT that I will create and then share with all of us so that we have a single source of truth for all the changes in our ecosystem.
Yeah,
the industry will thank you, Teala. Yes.
Would love for you to share that with me too.
I love it. I definitely think that there's a lot of optimization in AI, and I'm super excited. For me, it's definitely capturing these customer conversions, like if these customers are interacting with us, how do we make this seamless? So we just actually implemented our shopping assistant this week, and I'm really excited to like catch all those learnings from our customers. I do think like the initial first reach that I am in is like, how do we get that checkout just immediately in the chat widget? Like if they're adding their product to cart and they're like, I want to buy this, how do we turn that around so they don't have to then click out of cart and then click checkout and go through all of those, or immediately send them to checkout? So just reducing kind of the friction of the amount of interactions that they have to have if they're already opened up and shopping in Shopping Assistant. is probably like my biggest feature. On top of that search one that you were mentioning about, Emily, I'm so excited about that. Would love a little bit more of a conversational approach to our search experience on site, just like what other people are doing in Chat GPT or whatever GPT they're in. So that way, if they're searching like, I need sleep, it's not just giving them like 5 sleep products, but it's like, hey, here are our recommendations. And here's maybe why, since this is your first time on site, I would start with this and this strength in XYZ. So really teeing that experience up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The proactive search feature I was telling you about is actually already in Shopping Assistant. So I would definitely poke around in there and take a look. But yes, it is something that we want to expand on even more. And I love the concept of adding the checkout directly into chat as well. Because I know right now we have the product cards that come up and we can add to cart directly from there and then leave feedback on whether it was a good recommendation. But yeah, bringing all of that experience into chat, I think would make it a really, really well-rounded experience for shoppers that reduces friction.
Especially on mobile. I feel like a lot of our folks are on mobile and that chat does take up a lot of the screen, which is great. But to just like bring that whole thing in there would be so great.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on mobile. I feel like, switching between tabs on mobile is so different than on your computer at home. So making that so much easier, I think that would be really valuable.
Yes, just quick, painless.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Imagine putting like
go ahead.
Imagine putting like the reviews, like the star rating right below that product
right
in
there,
chat too.
all of it. Yeah.
Collect it all in the one spot.
I love it.
I love these ideas. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you both joining today. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and it was great to hear both of your perspectives on everything. I certainly learned a lot from both of you, and I hope everybody who joined us here to listen did as well. I'm going to share my screen really quickly just for the quick wrap up. But yeah, really appreciate your time and participation. Thank you so much, Katherine and Teala, for such an excellent and engaging conversation. We will be sharing this recording with everybody who has attended, so keep an eye out for that. And see you all next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Emily and Teala. It was so nice to chat. And, if anybody wants to keep this conversation going, LinkedIn is always my favorite place to keep it rolling.
Thank you both, Katherine and Emily. It was great to be here to learn a little bit about this. I feel like we have some follow-up work to do too. I'll follow up with both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.